do today is we're going to go over the heads. We're going to clean the heads. We're going to put the new Texas Speed valve springs in, the new hat seals for Michigan Motorsports, and then reinstall our stock top hats and valve keepers. So what I do is make sure I have this off to the side. I have done this before where I've lost these or I set them down, one gets knocked on the floor. So first thing I did is I took a box, I went 1, 2, 3, 4, and nice holes for our valves to go in. I want them to go back in the exact holes. When we take these out, we'll lap them in their exact place. We'll put them back in this, and then when we install it, everything will go back where it needs to be. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to install our trick flow valve spring remover.
You put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Just install it into the head itself. They give you all these bolts with it. It screws right in. And I'll try to get these too tight, but tight enough where it's not going to come off. An Allen wrench to compress it. And I had to build a little spacer here because otherwise it hit my head. I don't know, maybe some of the other ones go a little deeper right there, but did not.
If you're new here, welcome to the family. The people subscribe to this channel.
Subscribe to see me.
They're the ones who actually fix their own cars and don't pay dealer prices.
Save money.
Hit subscribe and join them. I drop new guides every week, so you never have to overpay again.
So I'm glad that did that because I had a few of them do that. It actually compresses the valves down and you can't pull these out. So I was able to lift it up and pop it back down. And once those are out, you loosen this and your springs are off. And that's it. Now make sure you keep these. The kit does not come with these top hats. Throw those aside so you don't reinstall those. So when you go to replace these, you got to take this seal off, and some guys use screwdrivers, but a pair of pliers pulls these off. Really simple. And on the stock ones, they're a 2-piece. I have a bolt in this side, so that's why I marked one this way. I just think it's a good practice to keep kind of everything where you got it. A lot of carbon buildup inside of here. Some rust, I don't know. Might have had a head leak, head gasket leak or something. So I'm going to take these out and put them right in my box as I take them out. So I'm going to keep track of everything as I go. The next thing I'm going to do is take these spark plugs out. So let's put her in fast forward. Because this video is about to get real dirty. Just kidding. I'm going to go ahead and take as much carbon as I can. I got a couple different wire brushes on drills. I'll go through and hit that and take off the big chunks, and then I'll get it with the smaller one. I don't think you really have to do it because it's going to look like this anyway, but I figure I'm in here, why not get this thing all cleaned up? I get so crazy about cleaning. I mean, one thing is if you're going to do a nice motor and you're going to paint it, you want it to be pretty free from grease anyway, so the paint looks better. Secondly, check for any cracks or anything that maybe is wrong with your motor. Thirdly, I bought this, but there was no intake. I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's pine needles in here and spider webs and tons of dust and dirt. Poor man's version of valve lapping. So you can get the little tool and do all this stuff, but we've done a video on this before. Some people think they know better than everybody else and say you can't do that. Well, you can, and we did. I'll just show you again real quick. There's some valve grinding compound, valve lapping. Put it on your valve, and we're going to start at number 1. And we are going to plenty in there. Then we're going to take our handy dandy drill and we're going to mount that valve, just like a drill bit, into the drill. And then we're going to hold light pressure with our hand. And we're going to spin it at a low rate of speed. We're going to do this a few times. And then we're going to put it in reverse. And do it this way a few times. As you pull this out, so a nice lapped valve in your seat. Doesn't take much. A lot quicker than doing that little tool by hand. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. It's quick, it's easy, it does a good job. So, hope you learned something. If you don't like it, don't say anything, just move on. Alright, let's get the rest of this done. So I'll show you guys kind of what those seats look like after we're done. And some of those valves had little rust deposits and stuff that I'll remove now. So these all should seal real nice, and took me about, I don't know, 10 minutes aside to do. Cost you $4 or $6 in lapping compound. Because we're going to install our hat seals. These are the ones from Michigan Motorsports. So we'll just load all these on here real quick. Let's scratch that. I'm just going to put these two on, and then we'll put these valves in and the springs. And then okay. We'll take our new Texas Speed springs, put those on. Then we take our hats that we saved from our stock stuff. Let's put them on. Put our remover / installer tool in here. When you compress these springs, sometimes it'll push your valve stem down, and you have to go under there with that rubber mallet and pop it back up. It looks like it finally released right there. The problem with that is when you're putting these retainers on here, it doesn't want to center. You see, it's not wanting to center. What we'll do before we get these any further is we're going to flip this out. And you can see that valve is not seating in there, which is not that big of a deal normally, but it's not allowing us to put our retainers on. That's all it takes, just a little motivation, and then we got these stuck up now. And then, like I said, these things wedge down. When they go in here, they go in this little groove in the valve. So let me grab one of the valves. You can see the groove right there. So it holds it in place, and when it comes up, it pushes against these, the wedge, and they are not going anywhere. When we let the pressure up, we're gonna have to make sure that these things stay where they need to stay, and this one is not. And the problem with that is it's not quite centered, so we got to work on centering our valve stem as it comes up. Hopefully it drops right in that our groove. You can see that. So it's centering those. I don't know if the camera's picking that up. Hopefully it is. And what's going to happen is this one right here is not quite releasing all the way, so you might hear a loud pop here in a second. There we go. All right. A little sketchy, but So that kind of gives you a little better. Is that moving this? Gives you a little better view of that. There's the groove that sits in there, and those two things sit in that groove. And as this moves up, that hat holds them in place. We got these last 3 to go, so it's pretty quick with the right tool. This thing makes it really easy. The old school one, which I do have here, does one at a time, so it takes a little longer.